Hello, and welcome. Before I start making a tier list, this is just my playlist and just to have some music on in the background. You see, in all my test recordings, I did a new shuffle. I've gotten this song every time. Not gonna complain, it's one of my favorite songs. Anyways, this is something different. I have no idea what my mouse is doing because the screens aren't even, so maybe like jumping when I do that. Yeah. This is something different. I don't want this channel to be entirely just Fire Emblem Iron Man. I still want to keep it a variety channel. If you have any ideas for that, comment down below. Anyways, yeah, I thought this would just be a fun thing, just tier listing all the games. So how it's gonna do is, these are the tiers: great to very good, still quite good, good above average, feels like fan fiction, and old. Gonna be honest, I like all these games. I think there's good and bad in all of them. So when I do a game, which random number generator will supply, I'm gonna say one thing I like, one thing I don't like, and at least one just comment. If I have more to say, I'll say more. As you can tell, there's only 16 games in the random number generators at 18. This is because of Conquest and Revelations. I'll also do quick maths because whenever I do a game, do that, and then like if it pops up, like let's just say the first time I get 3, then the next time I get 5. The second time I wouldn't be doing Thracia because there's only 17 games down here. I'd be doing Binding Blade. So that's 15, 16. Just for the sake of this. Anyways, as you can see, I just tested the random number generator. We are not starting with Awakening. Let's see what we are going to start with. 17. That is Shadows of Valentia. I will probably be moving stuff around as I get more games. Shadows of Valentia's presentation is fantastic. It looks good, voice acting is fantastic, and it definitely fixes a lot of Gaiden's issues. Like, healers can't get XP from healing in Gaiden. Obviously that's changed. But other than minor tweaks, they didn't really change the gameplay that much. And Gaiden definitely isn't the strongest gameplay. I wouldn't call it the worst either, though. And there's one, I'm going to try to keep this spoiler free. There is one minor story change that's really only a change because they went into a lot more detail in Shadows of Valentia. That makes one of the two Lord Silica kind of not necessarily the brightest. So I'm not a fan of, personally. For now, I'm gonna put it as the headliner of the still quite good. I will say, I prefer the soundtrack of the original. Because if you don't know, Shadows of Valentia is a remake of Fire Emblem 2. I prefer the original soundtrack, though. That is not a bad or a good thing. It's just a thing that is. I do wish they changed some of the gameplay stuff. I didn't get rid of a number on accident. It doesn't matter. Awakening. Awakening was the first game I played. I will always have a soft spot for that. It also saved the franchise. Again, soft spot for that. But, when I dig down into it, Awakening has some amazing stuff. It also has some stuff that just makes me roll my eyes into my head. Its story can be divided into 3 parts easily. And the middle part, I just don't like. The first part, I think, is quite good. I'm trying to think which one of those two it belongs in. I think it belongs in the above average tier. Because it definitely isn't bad. But compared to a lot of the games that came before it, I definitely think it is weaker. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I think its map design varies from really good to not very good. But to complement the game, I definitely think it has some fantastic moments. The final map, though, holy cow, I hate it. It's so boring. It's just a flat map. I don't know. I think I got good, bad, and comments in there. Okay. 7. Ah! Still 7. This is going to be one of the hardest games to rank. A couple of months ago, it would have been in my top 3. Then in my top 5, I don't know where it goes. Its characters, I think, are fantastic, and I think it has a lot of really, really strong maps. But its villain is stupid. Nurgle is stupid. I don't like Nurgle. He's not good. I do think if they remake Fire Emblem 6, they should actually remake Fire Emblem 7 first, and make it so that some of the weird connections are fixed. And I think instead of tweaking Fire Emblem 6, they should tweak Fire Emblem 7 to get there, since I do think Fire Emblem 6 is a stronger story, even though there's a little bit less of a story. The characters. Hector is one of my favorite lords. Still, so. Even after playing half the franchise since then. Thracia. No question there, it is easily in top tier. Thracia is one of the games I've replayed a little bit more recently, but I don't think I'm being biased from playing it more recently, just because the more I think of Thracia, the more fondly I start to think of it. Its characters are great. It has some pretty good map design. One of my favorite soundtracks in the franchise. Saying something bad about it's gonna be hard. I'll move on to just my comments, I guess. It can be stressful. There are some moments where it's really stressful, which is good. You have the Monster Escape chapters. I find that those are stressful. Chapter 19, I've never particularly liked. I mean, bad thing about it, I hate ballistas in it. The ballistas in this game, some of its Gaiden chapters are quite infuriating. It's the first game with Gaiden chapters, but like 12x, 14x. I personally don't mind 24x. I found it really easy the first time I played it. The second time, not as much, but I still didn't think it was horrible. But I don't really like a lot of its Gaiden chapters. Oh, wow. Path of Radiance. This is the next game I will be Iron Manning. I've already recorded a little bit. Not too much, but I have. A lot of people are probably going to say stupid, but if I had to pick a true successor to Thracia, I'd say it's Path of Radiance. Sure, Path of Radiance is a whole lot easier, but the GBA games, they simplified Fire Emblem. They took out skills, and of course capturing was taken out and all that. They made it a little bit more simplified. They still followed Thracia's formula, but it was a simpler form. Path of Radiance kind of brings back a lot of the more complex stuff. Like, it brings back skills, and while it does remove Gaiden chapters, it also adds a lot of mechanics. Biorhythm, which I still don't understand. Shoving, bonus XP system, kind of reworked from how it was in Gaiden to be a little bit more broken. I think Path of Radiance is the successor to Thracia in a lot of ways. They even kind of have similar plots. That being said, Path of Radiance really shines with its characters. I think Path of Radiance still has the best support system, and I think its support system is why the characters are so strong. I wish I could say the same about Radiant Dawn, Path of Radiance sequel, that the characters are just as strong, but the new characters really aren't as strong as the Path of Radiance ones, because Path of Radiance had an amazing support system, and Radiant Dawn didn't. Path of Radiance can be quite clunky, though. And Hopefully you can't hear the heater that just came on. Feather Rating's gonna be quite clunky. And there are some chapters that are just not designed well, in my opinion. Chapter 17, 18, 19, I think are big examples, and I typically love defend maps, but this game I hate the defend maps so much. I love the defend maps in Thracia, I think it's important to say. Well, I'm glad we're getting it over with really early. Genealogy the Holy War. Genealogy the Holy War is one of my favorite games of all time. Is it my favorite? No. None of these games are my favorite of all time. I personally think the SNES era Fire Emblem are the three of the strongest games in the franchise. They're all, in my opinion, great. All three of them. But FE4 definitely comes out on top. Is storytelling. Storytelling, the way it does it, I think is fantastic. And I will say, yes, this game is definitely a slog at times. There's a lot of turns where you don't do anything, and that's not really fun. And that's the thing I don't like. I feel there are some parts where it's really a slog. But I feel like it has great characters. The holy weapons, I think, are fantastic. I personally find it a ton of fun. I can understand why people don't. The pawn shop. If they remake FE4, I don't want them to remove the pawn shop. I don't think the pawn shop's good or bad. I think it is unique, and should not be removed at all costs. 3. Where am I gonna put Fire Emblem 3? Yeah, the final SNES game, and it's in top tier. In fact, I'm actually currently playing it. Which definitely is an influence. Again, I haven't gone that far. One thing, when you look at all three SNES games, Mystery of the Emblem, Genealogy the Holy War, Thracia, man, they made some great improvements from game to game. It's incredible that all three came on the same system, because Genealogy is so much more advanced from a UI standpoint than Mystery of the Emblem. I will say, the worst thing about Mystery of the Emblem is its UI is still not great. I think the first game that had a good UI is FE4. So Mystery of the Emblem's UI is not great. Its battle menus aren't really great. Holy cow, it is a fun game. When I played it, I found it definitely a little bit more fast-paced than a lot of other games. There's always something happening, from my experiences of it. I think it does a great job of telling the characters. This is the first time I truly enjoyed Marth. It wasn't until Mystery of the Emblem Book 2 that I started really liking Marth as a character. I didn't care for him until then. Mystery Emblem is one of the last games I played. I think it is easily better than its remake. I also think so far that is the best version of FE1. That being said, I've only played FE11 and 12 once each, and I definitely will replay them. But I think Mystery of the Emblem is fantastic, and if they ever remake Fire Emblem 1 or 3 again, I want them to put them in one game just like Mystery of the Emblem was. 2. Yeah, I just put Gaiden above Awakening. Yeah. So, let's go back to what I said about Shadows of Valentia. Gameplay was barely changed. That is why Gaiden is there. I will say, I think one thing that really helps Gaiden is that I played Shadows of Valentia first, because Because Gaiden, let's be honest, it doesn't have a lot of text, so its story's not very well conveyed. So as I was playing it, I was filling in the gaps with echoes, with Shadows of Valentia's story. Which I think may be giving it an unfair advantage, but I'm not sure. I think the first game easily aged worse. And here's what I'm about to say is both the best and the worst thing about Gaiden. It takes what didn't work in Fire Emblem 1 and completely removed it. This is good because item management in the first game was horrible. It just was. It completely reworked how item management worked. Only one special item slot. No item durability. Just all that. But at the same time, they chose the easy way out. Instead of fixing a system that didn't quite work yet, they just completely removed it. Which I wouldn't call good or bad, really, I guess, but... Oh, and witches. Witches and cantors also suck. I feel these games are very much equal, though. I really enjoyed playing Gaiden, though, when I played it. Well, I feel like it's generated the number 7 so many times. Birthright. Yeah, I'm putting it above Awakening. I feel there's... I don't know. I feel like its map design is never bad. I don't think the map design ever has... I don't think there's any great maps. There's also, I wouldn't really say any bad maps. They all kind of fit in a little area of average to good, which is really good. I don't think its characters are horrible. I think it has the least amount of character. That being said, I don't feel like it does anything wrong. The plot is simple. It makes enough sense. There's some stuff that isn't fantastic. I think later on with Xander, minor spoilers, I do think there's a moment where a character sacrifices himself to stop fighting. I think that should have happened after the battle, the gameplay map, and not before it. I think it would have made a lot more sense that way. I think that right then would actually fix a decent amount of my problems. I think that just the Fate's characters I think are the most likable in Birthright. As I don't really have a problem with any of them there. It's a little simple though. I really hope you can see the actual... I just wanted to make sure that you could actually see this and my webcam wasn't blocking it. I don't know. I think it's a good game. I find it fun. I don't like the elongated weapon triangle. That doesn't matter. Too much. 6. You see, if it wasn't for Chris, this would easily be in at least very good. Because they did make some map changes, some enemy changes that I'm not quite a fan of. And the star shards aren't as good in it, but it's really Chris that makes me not know where to put it. Chris is the worst part about this game. And the best part is it's the FE3, but new. I am going to put it at the top of the good tier, however. The more, I've already played it once, but the more I think of it, the more I like it. I mean, it's FE3. I do feel like they kind of might have bloated it with more characters a little bit, but I don't know. It's still Fire Emblem 3. And that's the best thing I can say about it. Sacred Stones. Yeah, all the way down there. I don't know, I've just never loved it. I think for every great thing Sacred Stones does, there's one thing that I just don't like. Just flat out don't like. I feel out of all the open map games, this is probably one of my least favorites of them. Just because The map battles are forced. Like in Awakening, you just walk past them. I like that. I like that. You can't in Gaiden, but Gaiden's an old game, so I'll give it a benefit of the doubt of it's just old enough that wouldn't happen. I feel for every great character, there's a character I just don't like as well. I don't like the villain. I don't like the villain, and I don't love the map design. I think the map design ranges from to very good. There's some fantastic maps, but a lot of them are very to me. That being said, I do think some elements of the story are really cool. And the maps that I like, I really like. It's a shame we didn't make it to them. I will say I do quite like Ephraim. I do quite like him. Oh, and the soundtrack's amazing. Binding Blade. See, I don't know where to rank it, because last time I played Binding Blade, I didn't play the original one. I played Project Ember. If this was Project Ember, easily there. Anyways, hopefully you didn't notice too much of a cut. Oh, lights on now. I think that bulb just died. Oh, no, it was just never turned on to begin with. Oh well. Anyways, Binding Blade. I don't know. It feels unfair to rank Project Ember and not the original. That being said, I still think the original is a really fun game with some really good maps, some really good music. So I still am going to put it in very good tier. No matter what, I think it belongs in very good tier. And I will state, Echoes, the only reason Echoes isn't in very good tier is some of its gameplay leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's that simple. Conquest. I'm going to start by saying this. To the people who say that has some of the best gameplay in the franchise, I think you forget like half of the maps that exist in it. The Ice Village map, Ninja Hideout, the Stairway, Sakura's chapter is so boring. Hinoka, Takumi's map, I can't remember what it's called. The final map, I think they're horrible. That being said, it does have some amazing gameplay. I will note, in particular, Chapter 10. I think that map is very well designed. I think Conquest would be so much better if they didn't try to be like, oh, we're the good guys, even though... I wish they just made it a true villain's route. Like, they are actually evil. I think that would have made it so much better. From a story perspective. And unfortunately, I do think some of the characters are done very dirty. I think this is the worst route for a lot of the royals. For a lot of the younger royals. Camilla, Sakura, even Hinoka, I'd say. I think this is the route that they're the worst in. That being said, Xander, Leo, and Ryoma are fantastic in this round. Especially Leo and Xander. Leo and Xander, I think, are easily the two best characters from this game. And by game, I mean Fates as a whole. I think when they eventually, 20 years from now, remake Fates, they could easily make Conquest, I think, the best one. It's bad maps that just leave such a sour taste in my mouth. The remake of the original game. Something I didn't really get into with FE12 is I don't really like the idea of reclassing. That being said, Shadow Dragon is a very respectable remake. It's true to the original, but it adds a bunch of features. It does change up the gameplay a bit. Unlike Shadows of Valentia. I think it's a very well done remake. It doesn't try to add pointless characters like Chris. That being said, it's just a remake of one of the more boring games in general. FE1, it's the first game, of course. It doesn't have to be perfect, so it's still a lot of fun. And Book 1 is easily the worst part of FE3, so I don't know. Great remake for a game that's definitely not bad. Just not the strongest in the franchise. I feel it is unfair to tier FE1 with other games because it is old. Fire Emblem 1 is old. That being said, take away your glasses of just like viewing it as a game in 2020 and look at it as a game from 1990. What a game. I think Fire Emblem 1 is amazing for an NES game. Let me just say that out. Yes, it is slow. And its menus are horrible. And its item management is painful. But for an NES game, I think it does a decent job of having intriguing concepts. And I definitely think there are a lot of things it does right. A lot of the foundations of the franchise come from it. I think it has some. I mean, there's really only 2 characters that are different characters. But they're good. Nina and Marth. After playing Shadow Dragon and Blade of Light, I can say that I find it a very respectable game. A fantastic soundtrack. For an NES game, I think it looks quite good, even though its color palette is green, and more green. It matters how it plays. And crank up 2 times speed, and it plays actually pretty well. And you may think not being able to see where your units can move is a big deterrence. I thought it would be before I played Gaiden, because I played Gaiden before it. And I got used to it by the time I was done with the first map. And same thing with FE1. Wow, the final 3 games, and I have a lot to say on all 3 of them, in fact. This is the one I have the least to say about. This is a game with its own tier. There are 3 games with their own tiers. It feels like fiction is probably a bad term. To me, this feels like a ROM hack, actually. Well, gameplay-wise it does. From a story perspective, it feels like a ROM hack. Just somebody is just sitting back like, huh, I wonder how you could do a golden route for Fate, so let me get to work. And here's the thing. I love writing. Am I the best writer? No. Revelations is a story that I would write, to be honest. Because other than the one mention of Vala and Conquest, Vala is completely absent in Birthright, which is one of the reasons why it's actually the best of the Faith games as well. Vala sounds like an escape route from a fanfiction writer to make it easier to bring both sides of everything together. The characters are stupid. That being said, some of the best story moments do come from Revelations. Xander and Ryoma have some amazing interactions, and I definitely think the ending of Revelations is my favorite of the Faith games. And before you say, oh, that's just because it's all happy and stuff, I don't know. I just like seeing all the royals interact. There's just something fun about it. Then it's also the only route where Zora survives, I think. I know I said I wouldn't do spoilers, but whoops. Gameplay-wise, I found Revelations the most fun. That being said, it is very gimmicky, and is it the best? I think the most even gameplay goes to Birthright. Revelations is gimmicky. It feels like a ROM hack, gameplay-wise. A ROM hack that wanted to separate itself from the crowd, so it did some more gimmicky stuff with its gameplay, and some of the times the gimmicks fall flat on their faces, and sometimes they're a ton of fun. Out of all 3 Fates games, Revelations is the one I'm most likely to replay. I also think Revelations has my favorite final map out of Fates and Awakening. It has actually a really good final map in my thing. In my opinion, I like its boss theme as well. I don't know. Revelation is the one that I just don't know how I feel about it the most. On one hand, it's my favorite Fates game. On one hand, it's also the worst Fates game. So I rank it on its own tier and pretend that doesn't exist, just so I don't have to think about it. Okay, 3 houses. Come on, let's be honest. You saw that coming. I'm an Awakening baby. I started with Awakening. Of course, the most recent game is one of my favorites. Characters. Characters, story, and history. I'll explain what I mean by history in a second. Those are 3 of the most important things to me in Fire Emblem. I love all of them. Good characters Good characters can make a bad story good. Fire Emblem 7. A good story can forgive you from having bad characters if it's intriguing enough. Chris in New Mystery of the Emblem. And history just makes it all more interesting. History is the one thing Fates really lacks. You know nothing. The continent doesn't even have a name. 3 houses. You have the history of Fodlan right there. Tellius. You get bits and pieces of like how all the countries formed. Yggdrasil. Oh man. I mean, Genealogy starts with giving you a little timeline of stuff. So, history, I mean just like what happened before the game. Sequels have it easy. Because you have the past game. Fodlan didn't have a past game. I think its lore is confusing, and I definitely think there's a lot of contradictions in it, but it still has a lot to go off of. I also find its characters great. I am gonna talk spoilers briefly. Very briefly. I'm not gonna say names, but there are 2 villains that aren't necessarily villains depending on your route. Both of them, I think, are... Okay, I actually am going to say their names. If I remember, I might do a timestamp to skip spoilers. Anyways, though, I like Edelgard and Rhea as villains more than I do otherwise. I like Edelgard quite a bit. Dimitri is my favorite lord of the franchise, but Edelgard, I think, is a very interesting character. I think, however, she's the most interesting in Azure Moon. Rhea, I think, is also the most interesting in Crimson Flower. Anyways, away from spoiler talk, I don't know, I like the characters a lot. Its gameplay is definitely, I think its map design is definitely, I don't think there's any maps that are bad, I just think there's a lot of maps that are so average. But I love a lot of its mechanics. The battalions I really like. And there's a lot of mechanics like the monastery and all that I just hope they keep it unique. Last up is one of the hardest to rank, Radiant Dawn. With Revelations, I kind of said how that story is kind of a story that I might write. Radiant Dawn is also one. Radiant Dawn, I forgive there's something about Radiant Dawn's plot that makes a lot of people just... But I'm gonna be honest, that's something that I would write, to be honest, so... I forgive it. There's some stupid stuff that makes stuff happen, but at least the stuff that happens I find very cool. I do like... The characters that actually have development, I think, are really good. Radiant Dawn is also one of just the most fun games to me, gameplay-wise. I just find it so much fun to play. I can't wait to get through my Path of Radiance Iron Man and get to Radiant Dawn. Although I will say my personal Iron Man of Radiant Dawn, I kinda died. Oh well. I just find it very entertaining. I think it has a lot of great map design. I will say, Radiant Dawn has some of my least favorite maps of the entire franchise. The Part 4 Desert map is maybe my least favorite map in the franchise. But... Part 3 Endgame is one of my favorite maps in the franchise. Matter of fact, every single endgame in Radiant Dawn, I think it's fantastic. And when the characters get a chance to shine, they shine well. Anyways, quite the tier list. This is how I feel right now. Obviously, like, in a week from now, it'll be different. Like, who knows? Maybe in a week it'll look something like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll stay like that. These two. They often switch places. Maybe very briefly we'll have like that or something. I don't know. Right now, this is how I feel about the franchise. If I had to pick up one game to play right now, it would be Three Houses, Thracia. It would be these four. Well, I'm playing that one now, so that kind of doesn't count. That was a game I played before I played Fire Emblem, so I played it very recently, so not ready to play the game. I don't know. I think this is a very, very reasonable tier list. Anyways, there'll be no uploads next week. Next week's Christmas week, so that's not why I'm not uploading. I just don't have anything to upload. I don't have enough Path of Radiance to start releasing them. So I just need a week to make the film. Yeah, there'll be nothing next week. Anyways, that's really all I got. If you have ideas for content for me to do, like whether it's tier lists or games you want me to play or something, leave them down below. I'm up for it. And I really want to make this channel good. I want to make it something I'm proud of before I head off to the next thing. I want this channel to be something that I can look back on fondly. So yeah, I'm open for ideas, and see you next time.